From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for the debate.
Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This afternoon I spoke to the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath. He said that those who have nothing to do with farmers are inciting. He said that there are certain elements shooting off the shoulders of our farmers to create anarchy in chaos. He said that there are corporate pawns at work who do not want progress for our farmers. He spoke about how one lie is being repeated by the opposition again and again to mislead the nation. He said with a clear resolve that a solution to the concerns of the farmers will be found via talks. The full interview will air tomorrow at 9 p.m. But even before that, the truth about those instigating and misdirecting the farmers' protest is unraveling. And the question is, can talks happen in an environment of disruption? How can there be talks when the farmers' protest is infiltrated by a vested nexus of non-farmers from Yogendra Yadav to Medha Patkar? How can there be talks when those who are taking over the protests may have corporate agendas hidden? How can there be talks when intelligence inputs suggest that there are extremist groups which are hijacking the protests? And how can there be talks, viewers, when the farmers' protest is being appropriated to campaign for the release of Maoist terrorists and urban Naxals? Tonight, the well-fed lies of the lobby that profiteers from riots, the lobby that thrives in anarchy, and the lobby that has made it a profession to take over the farmers' protests will be pierced by facts, burn in the face of the truth, and crumble to dust with real data. We have two big debates, viewers, followed by a clip of the Yogi Adityanath interview. Debate number one, it's the farmers versus the Tukde gang. On the debate this evening, I'm joined by Nirmala Sitharaman, Union Finance Minister. At 10 o'clock tonight, I'm joined on the debate in Bengal. I'll first be joined live by the Governor of Bengal, Mr. Dhankar, as the Centre-West Bengal face-off becomes sharper. And in a series of exclusives, I will wrap up this evening with Yogi Adityanath. And here are the headlines this Friday evening on the debate tonight. Intelligence sources reveal the Tukde gang plot to trigger violence in the name of the farmers' protest. Yogendra Yadav, Hannan Mola, Darshan Pal dossier lists all those masquerading to hijack the protests. Farmers angry over the Tukde gang agenda to infiltrate, warn against the misuse of their platforms. Watch Yogi Adityanath take on the anarchist elements in an unmissable edition of The Nation Wants to Know. Mamta escalates standoff with the centre, refuses to send Chief Secretary and DGP summoned over political violence. And Home Minister Amit Shah throws a big challenge to Mamta, will campaign in Bengal next week. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last 16 days, we have consistently said here at the Republic Media Network that this farmers' agitation cannot be allowed to become a Shaheen Bagh type protest. Tonight, there is evidence that there is an attempt to make this protest a ground for anti-India activities by using our farmers as a front. Here is the full dossier on how the left-wing Maoist sympathizers and the Tukde brigade have been surreptitiously and stealthily been trying to take over, and then we debate.
On December 10th, when posters demanding release of Sharjeel Imam, Umar Khalid, Varavara Rao and Sudha Bhardwaj emerged at the Tikri border, the left lobby agenda became clear.
अगर ये डिमांड और ये पोस्टरबाजी अगर वहाँ हो रही है तो मैं किसान यूनियन के नेताओं से कहना चाहता हूँ कि इससे बचना चाहिए और ये किसान आंदोलन को बिखेरने की कार्रवाई है.
Intel sources have revealed a dangerous plot of the left-wing extremist group under the garb of farmers' protest.
Farmer protests are being misused by certain anti-national elements. The many slogans which are being raised from these platforms are not of farmers. There was only one demand by the farmers, and that was MSP, and the government was ready to give a written assurance on it. But then came another demand. That was the Mandi system should be in place. Government said, okay. But then these anti-nationals saw that slight opportunity to hit back at the central government by using, or should we say, misusing this platform.
Republic has accessed a dossier that shows how some left-wing activists and those with motivated interests are masquerading as farmers to push their agenda. Kavita Kuruganthi, a 50-year-old activist from Andhra Pradesh, has been camping in Narela for the protest. Sources say she has been coordinating internal discussions and agenda of farmers meeting with the government. She has been coordinating with representatives of various states and mobilizing people to participate in the agitation in the Haryana-Delhi border, and has her own agenda in spearheading a campaign for banning a particular mobile network. Yogendra Yadav is another prominent face seen at the farmers' protest.
अब आप देख लीजिए ये जो हजारों लाखों लोग इस वक्त हैं, जो मीलों मील तक खड़े हुए हैं, शांति से अपनी ट्रैक्टर ट्रॉली में बैठे हैं. मैं नहीं बोलूंगा, आप जाके चेक कर लीजिए इसमें कितने बिचौलिए हैं.
Sources say he has been instigating farmers to not cooperate with the government and is also believed to be the brains behind the farmers' demands. Darshan Pal, member of Krantikari Kisan Union, is known for his close links with the CPI Maoist faction and is suspected to have participated in left-wing extremist activities. Ajmer Singh Lakhowal, who is part of the protests, is believed to be a sympathizer of Indira's assassins, and in 1999 was arrested for cheating farmers in tractor deal. Hanan Mola, who is a member of Kul Hind Kisan Sangharsh Talmel Committee, is affiliated to Communist Party of India Marxist and has been a member of parliament for close to 20 years.
जिन लोगों को ये सब अच्छा नहीं लगता है कि भारत का किसान भी समृद्धि का स्वाद चख सके, वे लोग इस प्रकार के आंदोलन को भड़का करके अव्यवस्था और अराजकता पैदा करना चाहते हैं, और मुझे लगता है कि अव्यवस्था और अराजकता भारत की जनता स्वीकार नहीं करेगी.
The farmers have rejected these vested interest groups who want to use the platform to push their agenda.
किसान आंदोलन को हिस्सा नहीं, जो देशद्रोही वो कर रहे हैं वो उनका अलग मैटर है, हमारा उस मैटर से कोई मतलब नहीं है.
The government machinery is working overtime to allay the concerns of the farmers, and with a strong resolve for solution via talks, the message to Tukde lobby should be clear. There is no place for anarchy. Let's debate.
As the Maoist supporters, the Tukde gang, the ultra-left, the unelectables, people who don't get 200 seats in a Lok Sabha constituency, as these elements infiltrate, viewers, I will only begin by saying it's the credibility of the farmers' protest which has unfortunately been eroded. Which is my first question to Manoj Bhattacharya, who is General Secretary of the Revolutionary Socialist Party, who will debate with Sanju Verma at the start, and M.R. Venkatesh, Shantanu Gupta, Vivek Srivastav, Royden Roach and Raghav Saran. Thank you for joining. Manoj Bhattacharya, can you hear me? Mr. Bhattacharya.
Yes, very well.
Can you hear me, Mr. Bhattacharya?
Yes,
Bhattacharya, there was a time.
Heard all the good adjectives that you have used.
There was a time when you were part of the.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes, please.
Yes.
You were saying something?
No, I'm not saying something. I've heard very carefully the beautiful adjectives
There was
that
a
you have
time.
used for the people protesting in a democratic society. Yes, continue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate your appreciation. There was a time, Mr. Bhattacharya, when you were part of a ruling coalition in Bengal. At that time, you believed in electoral politics, and for the time that you were in power, you believed in the rule of law. Unfortunately for you, I repeat, unfortunately for you, you are no longer in a position to participate successfully in electoral politics. Do you have to take out your frustrations by trying to suddenly emerge at the scene of a farmers' protests and claim to represent them? May I ask you, Mr. Bhattacharya, what right do the unelectables have? I repeat,
Goswami,
what right do the unelectables
Goswami,
have to represent farmers in this country?
Mr. Goswami, you have used some chosen language, chosen terminology, what I despise to use against you, that you are practically working as an agent to oppose the interest of the common Indians. You have used your voice to defend something what is indefensible. The farmers, they are agitating for their own cause, they are working also for the cause of the people of India in general. So when you say the Tukde gang, when you say non-electable, these are all rubbish. I decry your wild allegations against us, against the people who are protesting in a democratic manner.
Can I please come in, Arnab?
You can use anything because you are being paid. Mr. Arnab Goswami, you are being paid for that. And you can use any adjectives against us. I don't mind. I know what you can use.
Sir, I think you are being paid to represent the kulaks, Mr. Manoj Bhattacharya. If you cannot win an election, that is your problem. If the people have rejected you, that is your problem. Now you are a representative of the kulaks. You are a kulak leader. You want to represent the kulak class. You ought to know, don't try and use your counter-revolutionary tactics with me. You're a counter-revolutionary kulak supporter. That's what you have become. Now my question to you is, if you cannot be anything but a counter-revolutionary kulak supporter, and if you are standing with the bourgeois, and if you are trying to suppress the voice of the farmers, I ask you, sir, on what basis have you become a farmer leader? On what basis have you become a farmer leader? Everyone's asking you. Who needs the farmer? The farmer leaders can speak for themselves. Why don't you? No, 1 second. Why don't you allow the farmer leaders to speak for themselves? On what basis, Mr. Bhattacharya, do you represent farmers? And Mr. Bhattacharya, you're a very senior man. I have absolutely no interest in getting into a personal discussion with you. I have absolutely no interest in getting into a personal discussion with you. I am simply asking you, yes, I use the word the Tukde gang, because I think if there are people who say, Bharat tere tukde honge, inshallah, I call them the Tukde gang. The entire country calls them the Tukde gang. Are you supporting people who are against the sovereignty of this country? Is that your new approach in politics? Anyway, I want to debate farmers, not you or me. So I'll get a response from Sanju Verma and take the debate forward. I'm not interested in debating myself.
You are the person who will save the sovereignty of this country. In fact, you are demolishing
Please, Arnab, ask him to keep quiet. Let me make a sane point.
You are acting, Arnab Goswami, you are acting.
Why is he allowed to?
I'm on the main point.
I can only tell you that you are today supporting all the American companies. Mr. Bhattacharya, I am not interested in responding to your personal comments. I will not descend to your level. I'm making a public proclamation that I will not descend to your level. I will debate the issue of farmers. Sanju is responding.
Mr. Arnab Goswami, you have... Mr. Arnab Goswami,
Please,
you have...
You have only made personal comments, Mr. Bhattacharya. I just called some people unelectables and you took that personally.
You have called Maoists. And you are
I am telling you, the people of the country want the Tukde gang to be out of the scene of the farmers' protest.
I don't
Keep quiet. Hold
Please,
your
I don't
horses.
consider
We
you
heard
to
you, sir.
be
We
a
heard
sane
you.
person.
Now relax.
I don't consider you
Let
to be
me
a
have
sane
my
person.
say.
I'm sorry.
Let me have
I'm
my
very
say.
sorry.
Please let me
I'm
have
not
my
used to this sort of
say.
discussion.
Arnab, is this the way to debate? This man is going on and you are doing nothing to stop him. Please ask him to... Yes, thank you. Let me just make some very quick points, Arnab. And I'll start with a famous quote by Jim Rohn. If you're not willing to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. And let me tell everybody through the Republic portal to a wide audience that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is certainly not willing to settle for the ordinary. That is something each one of you must know by now. He's had a tremendous track record with respect to reforms, be it in the banking space, be it in the agriculture space, be it labor market reforms, what have you. Coming straight to the point of farm reforms, I just want to say one thing which will expose this ultra-left Naxal lobby. In the state of Punjab, contract farming has been allowed for the last couple of years under Amrinder Singh no less, in maize, in many varieties of wheat, in sunflower and in barley. Now tell me, if contract farming is lucrative in the case of Punjab, in pulses, in oil seeds, in wheat, why is it contract farming not lucrative for the rest of India? Contract farming was allowed under Vilasrao Deshmukh in Maharashtra when the Congress was in power. You had no problems then. Contract farming was allowed when Bhupinder Singh Hooda was the Chief Minister of Haryana in 2013. You had no problems then. Contract farming was allowed way back in 2003 when Digvijay Singh of the Congress was the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. You had no problems then.
Vivek.
Contract farming was something which Sharad Pawar advocated in a letter dated 11th August 2010, saying we must allow contract farming. You had no problems then. If Sharad Pawar says it's fine, you don't have problems. But if Prime Minister Narendra Modi brings in the farm laws, you start raising
that is the problem.
The Tukde gang jhanda.
He's not interested in farmers.
Let me tell you very clearly.
He doesn't want to talk. There is
This
no
whole
Tukde
allegation that the farmers will be wiped out by corporate players is a whole lot of hogwash.
You can call them Talibani.
Let me tell you,
can call them
why are you holding the posters of Sharjeel Imam and Umar Khalid?
And the nation is not with Narendra Modi.
Who have been charge sheeted under the UAPA in a farmer's
I'd like to go across to...
What has Yogendra Yadav...
I shall return to the debate in a few minutes, viewers. I shall return to this debate in a few minutes. For now, I am going across to be joined by the Finance Minister of India, Nirmala Sitharaman, on the 16th day of the farmers' protest. Ms. Sitharaman, good evening. 16 days on, why is the centre unable to break the ice with the farmers? Who stopped the talks from continuing? Who is to blame for it?
Well, I don't want to blame anybody. I think it's a time when the farmers are all probably having a introspection, having discussed for some time. Now, with also a written response going from the centre, based on those primary points on which farmers had, in the first two engagement, raised questions on their own, central government has given proactively some kind of a response. I would assume that the farmers are going through the response given by Minister Tomar. So I hope that the talks will resume and there will be a very conciliatory discussion as it has happened earlier.
You say MSP will remain. Rahul Gandhi seems to know the mind of these farmers. He says farmers will not compromise. Is this becoming completely political? Are political interests guiding some of the farmer lobbies?
I find that a bit of a, if that is true, it is really sad, because what is political about welfare of farmers? What is political about it? You have, as Congress party, mentioned it in your 2019 election manifesto. In fact, you went to the extent of saying, we shall ensure that the APMCs are disbanded. You also spoke very promisingly about how the farmer should be given all the facility to be able to export and be able to sell his products where he wants. Now, what is it that the Congress party is seeking to achieve by muddying this water? If anything, I would think they should sit with the farmers and tell them what actually are the 3 laws which are passed. I was very, very impressed when Minister Narendra Tomar said, I am willing to look at clause by clause each of these laws, with the farmers sitting before me and telling me which of the clause has a problem, and I'm willing to really do some work on it. So the Congress party can actually keep a copy of these laws and probably sit with the farmers and say, Bhaiya bolo, kahan hai aapatti aapka? I would actually expect that kind of a role of the opposition, having put it in the first place in their manifesto.
I think, Ms. Sitharaman, I have a feeling that the farmers' groups as well as political parties are looking for a strategic victory over you. You are looking at things tactically. Allow me to explain why I think of it this way. You have come back with several proposals, whether it be on MSP, whether it be on contract farming, whether it be on the legal aspect of it and the legal rights of farmers, and the fact that their land will be protected. So you have practically met, I would say, 80% or more of the farmers' demands. Now, on our Hindi channel, Republic Bharat, Rakesh Tikait of the Bharatiya Kisan Union was with me. He said, that does not matter. What matters is that we want a repeal of the law. Now, the repeal of a law is a strategic victory for them and will be a strategic defeat for you. Therefore, the farmers are not looking at the details, or at least the farmer leaders or your opposition. They're not looking at the details of MSP. You're going about the micro parts of it. They're looking at scoring a political victory over you. So, do you also think so? I mean, this has become now about political egos and political grandstanding and about a strategic defeat. How do you ensure a strategic defeat for the Modi government on the issue?
Arnab, I think what is important here is not to see this whole thing as victory or defeat for anybody. Here is a situation where, with all good intent, and over the decade, in fact over 2 decades, beginning 2000, these farm laws have been discussed over several committees, over several governments, and having passed the parliament after due discussions. You may still tell me that in Rajya Sabha there was ruckus. Ruckus began after Narendra Singh Tomar, minister, stood up to respond to the questions raised in the parliament, in the Rajya Sabha. And the opposition played the game wanting not to hear him give the answers. Lok Sabha passed it. When it comes to Rajya Sabha, they did not even allow him to answer. And the Agriculture Ministry has given clear data to say how many stakeholders meetings were held and so on. So this has not happened in a jiffy. This has happened after due consultation at various different levels. And I do not want to speak what is being done for the welfare of the farmers as a victory, as a loss, as a defeat. None of that. We are here to talk with the farmers, ask them for specific things which worry them, and we are willing to address that. And therefore, I think we are showing, and rightly, I'm not sitting in pride with it, we are showing the right concern to address issues which have to be talked rather than looked at as though you're going to win, I'm going to lose. None of that.
No, but can you give them the guarantees they want? This entire, we are a free market economy, and what the farmers want is that they want a guarantee that in the private mandis, which will exists parallel to the government mandis, the produce will not be sold at a rate lower than that of the MSP. They want the government to be a guarantor. Nirmala Sitharaman, can you hear me, Ms. Sitharaman? Can you hear me? Arnab here. Did I lose the line? Ms. Sitharaman? Nirmala ji? I think I briefly lost the line. Let's see if we can get Nirmala Sitharaman back. This is interesting because it's for the first time, viewers, that the union... can you hear me now, Nirmala ji? We were just at a critical point in the interview. We'll try and get the line back. We'll dial again, but in the meantime, I just like to say that while I get the line back, this is, whether or not the government agrees, this is becoming clearly a matter in which the farmers' unions are hoping that they will inflict a strategic defeat on the government. Whether there are political forces behind that or not, you can't say for sure. Nirmala ji, can you hear me now? I think I've got the line back. Nirmala ji, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, excellent. So my question to you was, the farmers are saying, Nirmala ji, that we want the government to be a guarantee that the price in the local mandis will not be lower than the MSP in the government mandis. They say you give us that in writing. Can you give such a commitment in writing?
See, the point is the government is wanting to sit and talk to them and do whatever it takes to convince them and remove the doubts in their minds. If while sitting and talking with Narendra Singh Tomar, they would say it and they would definitely respond, the government would definitely respond. But when they sit and talk, and if the minister has gone to the extent of saying, I'll go clause-wise on the 3 acts and speak, it means he's completely with an open mind. And I'm sure I would leave it to the agriculture minister to definitely hear everyone's such demand if they pose it to him there.
Are you concerned about this charge or the way in which this is being described as the Ambani-Adani farm laws? You know, this seems to me a reminder of the phrase "Soot boot ki sarkar." You know, your opponents are constantly talking about the Adani-Ambani farm laws charge. Are you concerned about the political perceptual impact of that?
Let's be clear on one thing. Contract farming has existed and continues to exist in many states, inclusive of the state where Congress is an alliance running Maharashtra government. Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana, Karnataka, contract farming exists. There was not one voice against it, then or now. But that's being brought up as a point of concern now when the farm laws are being discussed. What is the solution Maharashtra offered? What is the solution Haryana offered? How come Karnataka farmers are not protesting on that? So there just seems to be raking up issues by some sections, not so much the farmers, bringing in a doubt and a fear in the minds of the farmers, which are actually not very well founded.
What is your comment on these people like Yogendra Yadav who suddenly para-dropped here? Last I checked, in all of Delhi, his party got 1,500 votes in 4 assembly constituencies, which means he couldn't even get about 400 votes in every assembly constituency. And yet these unelectables suddenly have para-dropped into this, this whole arena. They're hijacking the talks. Why is the government not intervening there? Why is the government not exposing the real intentions of these people and their backgrounds? Yogendra Yadav was the same person who was instigating Shaheen Bagh, which led to the Delhi riots. Why are you allowing things to get polarized?
What is allowing and what is not allowing? If only any individual who goes and joins each of these protests can raise a legitimate point of concern if the farmers are not able to articulate, which I don't believe. I think farmers are fully capable of putting forth their concerns. But never mind. If people go and join them, at least if they are facilitating the discussion by raising the points of concern, the government can speak. They're just joining there, but raising no substantial point which is actually germane to the laws which have been passed. So my question is, what is the value addition? If you're there, and if you're somebody who knows the farming sector so much, you know the welfare of the farmers, you've gone there because you want to give strength to their voice, put forth those points which have certain matter of concern. No, I'm there, but I shall not raise any question because there's nothing substantive against these three laws. And that is what is worrying me. I have no problem with anyone joining a particular protest. But what is the common cause for which you have gone? And put that common cause out. If it is so serious a concern, the minister will answer to you. But if it's not, why are you there?
Well, the common cause is one of political opportunity. You can't get elected, but you can try and get some relevance by going for a photo op. I personally think the government should be tougher with these people who are constantly instigating things. My last question to you, are you concerned about the international impact? You know, there is the way this is now being portrayed globally. Are you concerned about the way this is being described as India's police detain opposition leaders, farmer agitation, Justin Trudeau's support, pamphlets like the Washington Post? Does this cause you concern? Do you think this was an attempt to run down India globally by vested interests? Is this not similar? The kind of the international coverage is very similar to Shaheen Bagh, very frighteningly similar. Same pamphlets, same kind of agenda. Are you not noticing it? You've been a spokesperson for your party. You know about issues of perception globally.
You're right, Arnab. There is definitely a common cause, kind of a brotherhood, which exists both in India and some countries abroad. And this brotherhood raises voice as and when the agenda serves them. And that's something which we can see happening. And I'm not even going into details of who are behind it. But certainly, what had happened to the protests earlier, what had happened to the voices which went sympathetic to certain sections, which were raising a false alarm, whether it is the CAA, and now whether it is the farm laws, any good reform which the government does in public interest, because it doesn't suit a certain section, they join in such protests. I'm not saying the farmers are wrong. If the farmers have doubts, they are welcome to ask questions. We are there to answer them till they are satisfied. But to latch on to such protests and also to create an international outcry from the predictable, usual suspects, it just shows that this is the kind of network, the brotherhood, which, because it doesn't like Prime Minister Modi's firm leadership, Prime Minister Modi's reform agenda, they would want to somehow destabilize the government by bringing these kind of opinions as though it is there everywhere. It's the same usual suspects. But the fact remains that the government is engaging in dialogue with people who have doubts in their mind, and we are willing to sit with them and talk. So I'm sure people will see where the facts lie. We are sitting and talking with the farmers. As long as it takes, we will explain our position, and that it is for the welfare of the farmers. But those who put it in their own manifesto, now shedding crocodile tears, will be exposed.
Well, thank you very much. You cannot have talks in an environment of disruption, no doubt about that. Nirmala Sitharaman, thanks very much. Thank you for joining me this evening. You see Royden Roach and Vivek Srivastav. Thank you, Nirmala ji.
Thank you.
Royden Roach and Vivek Srivastav. M.R. Venkatesh and Shantanu Gupta will debate with you. You know, everybody has seen things through. M.R., will you tell Royden? Will you tell Vivek Srivastav, Shantanu, that the country has seen through them? They are not farmers. They will never be farmers. They never have the interests of farmers at heart. Shantanu, maybe you'd like to start by telling Vivek a thing or two, and then we'll take the debate forward. Please.
We have fronts of farmers in our party. Our party has got Kisan fronts.
Thank you. Arnab, from the very starting...
आपकी पार्टी का भी किसान फ्रंट है, हमारी पार्टी का भी किसान फ्रंट है. So don't say हमें किसान नहीं है हमारे में.
Respond well. Allow people to hear both of us out.
No, what is there to respond? The bill is yours. The bill is yours.
Arnab, from the very starting, you can see hypocrisy after hypocrisy.
You should listen to me.
I can find hypocrisy after hypocrisy. Akali Dal leader Harsimrat Kaur spoke eloquently about the ordinances, the same ordinances. But after a couple of months, when she saw that our politics is not getting catered in Punjab, they went against the law. Aam Aadmi Party notified the law. Listen to this everyone. Aam Aadmi Party notified the law in Delhi, notified the farm produce law in Delhi, and they're going to the protest.
Nobody has notified any law.
They're just trying to create a confusion in the mind of the farmer.
You don't even know.
They're just trying to create the confusion in the mind of the farmer. And now this ready-made activists like
America supports its farmers and gives subsidies. France supports its farmers and gives subsidies. Europe supports its farmers and gives subsidies. And India says it's a free market, so the farmer can go to hell.
People like Yogendra Yadav are activists on demand these days.
Thank you very much, Shantanu, is on the debate with Mr. Roach.
Shine bag lobby to it. You are adding a Shine bag lobby to it. You are adding a Umar Khalid lobby to it.
Thank you, Mr. Roach.
It's no more a farmer.
Mr. Roach, I have also been informed, Mr. Roach.
To the point of the debate,
I have just been informed.
Very clear.
Mr. Roach, I just want to say one thing, please. Thank you. Mr. Roach, I want MR on the debate. I want to make a small point, if I may. I want to make a small point, if I may, Mr. Roach. Mr. Roach, I want to make a small point, if I may, Mr. Roach. Now there is one person called Kavita Kuruganti. She is mobilizing the protests. I am told, MR, that she's spearheading a campaign for banning of a large internet mobile service company. Now this therefore means that there are corporate interests which have also come in.
Absolutely.
It's got a mix-up. It's a mishmash.
International also.
There are people who are representing corporate interests against this corporate and therefore that corporate. What has this got to do with farmers? MR, please take this forward with Mr. Roach. Let's be very specific tonight.
Okay.
Pardon me.
Pardon me, sir. I heard.
Pardon me, sir.
I heard.
1 minute, sir.
Sir, Mr. Roach, can you please keep quiet? Arnab,
against the farmer.
Mrs. Sitharaman, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman put the point very brilliantly when she said there is no winner, no loser.
The private organization
and here we are talking to our brothers and we will find a solution.
That is what
and it is the duty of the government to see that all the points are being addressed.
The farmers,
but where is it that the Communist Party comes in? Where is it Yogendra Yadav comes in? Where is this Kavita Kuruganti comes in? It is nothing but a Mahagathbandhan of anarchists, leftists, all these people who are separatists, Kashmiri separatists, Punjabi separatists, Tamil separatists, what have you, all of them find that they need to converge
to know what is the bill. Did you read the bill? No, you haven't read the bill. You haven't got the MR and Manoj. You covered from television.
So what they do, they are the people who have actually championed for these laws when they were in power. And now they come and tell us that the laws were brought by Narendra Modi and that is not acceptable. Who the hell are they? What is the locus? What is the locus of all these people? Can we know who are they representing? Who is their paymaster? Whose interests are you representing, sir? Let me ask you point blank. Whose interests
Farmers are representing themselves. You are none to this voice.
Who the hell are you representing? Whose interests are you taking?
I am not representing here.
But the point
I'm just telling, I'm just advising you that don't develop a strategy to support the movement.
Performance like always by the leftists.
Don't take the advantage of your
whenever
voice.
the left opposes something, you can be very well sure that it is not in the India's interest or national interest. As simple as that. You don't have to read the farm laws. You don't have to
shout
worry
anything and everything. You may shout everything and anything nonsense.
Opposing something, be sure, make it a very simple calculation that it is not in India's interest to go and toe their line. Obviously something good is happening, and that is why these leftists are like cockroaches on the road. So the only way you have to do is to control the pest, and the only way to control these pests is to have a proper pest control done on them. Absolute pest control these guys. Use the pest control on these guys.
1 second. मनोज भट्टाचार्य,
no use of
राघव जी हमारे साथ हैं. राघव शरण शर्मा, राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष अखिल भारतीय अग्रगामी किसान सभा के बनारस से लाइव हैं. राघव जी नमस्कार. मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है कि ये अर्बन नक्सली कैसे घुस गए? ये अर्बन नक्सली इतने बड़े संख्या में किसान आंदोलन में कैसे घुस गए? इसके बारे में जरा आप हमें बताइए. आपको क्या लगता है क्या हो रहा है? ये इतने बड़ी संख्या में अर्बन नक्सली माओवादी इस किसान प्रदर्शन में कैसे घुस गए? हाउ डिड दे एंटर द प्रोटेस्ट?
ऐसा है कि भारतीय जनता का जो प्रधान कंट्राडिक्शन है, अंतर विरोध, इस साम्राज्यवाद से. अब बाहर से सारे सामान आ रहे हैं तो यहाँ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होगा नहीं, और जब मैन्युफैक्चरिंग नहीं होगा तो खेती पर जो अतिरिक्त आबादी है तो उसको हम ट्रांसफर नहीं कर सकेंगे, तो बोझ बना हुआ है. फिर गांव में टमाटर आलू सब सड़ते हैं. फूड प्रोसेसिंग प्लांट, फूड प्रिजर्वेशन, कोल्ड स्टोरेज, स्किम्ड मिल्क गांव में हम चालू नहीं कर रहे हैं. हमारे पास नदियों का इतना पानी है कि अरब मुल्क को तेल का नहीं है. ये ड्राफ्ट मिथन है कारोमंडल में, जो दुनिया में किसी के पास नहीं है.
लिखित में एमएसपी का प्रावधान करने के लिए सरकार तैयार है, तो आपको दिक्कत किस बात से है? सरकार ने कहा है सर कि हम एमएसपी आपको लिखित तौर पे आश्वासन देने के लिए तैयार हैं. पंजाब में इस बार जो धान और गेहूं की फसल हुई उसका 85% सरकार ने एमएसपी के माध्यम से सार्वजनिक खरीदारी की, जबकि उत्तर प्रदेश जैसे प्रदेश में सिर्फ 10% एमएसपी के भाव पर खरीदारी हुई. तो पंजाब के जो किसान हैं वो सड़कों पर क्यों उतरे हैं? आप लोग बार बार अंबानी अदानी की बात करते हो, पर सरकार तो किसानों के हाथ में डायरेक्टली पैसा देती है. प्रधानमंत्री किसान सम्मान निधि योजना के तहत 14 करोड़ किसानों को सालाना 6,000 रुपए मिलते हैं. प्रधानमंत्री कृषि पेंशन योजना के तहत 60 साल की उम्र के बाद आपको हर महीने 3,000 रुपए
राघव जी को जवाब देने दे.
आश्वासन किया है.
संजू, लेट राघव रिस्पॉन्ड.
सरकार ने मोदी
लेट राघव जी रिस्पॉन्ड.
दिया है उतना शायद कांग्रेस ने 60 सालों में नहीं दिया. पिछले 6 सालों में मोदी
लेट हिम रिस्पॉन्ड. संजू,
7 लाख करोड़ एमएसपी का भुगतान किया है.
यही शहर,
तो आपको दिक्कत
यही शहर के कुलीन लोग नहीं समझ पाते हैं. इसे समझिए थोड़ा शांति से 1 मिनट. सरकार मजदूरों को, संगठित मजदूरों को मजदूरी बढ़ाती रहती है, फिर भी उनकी सीमा बनी रहती है, समस्या बनी रहती है. महंगाई बढ़ जाता है, सब छीना जाता है. किसान की समस्या केवल आर्थिक नहीं है. आप जोड़ा रहे हैं यह दिया वह दिया. किसान की समस्या आर्थिक के अलावा है, आर्थिक के अलावा है. सब कुछ आप दे दीजिए,
सब्सिडी मिलती है. किसानों
एक हाथ से आप देंगे, अर्थमेटिक प्रोग्रेशन से आप देंगे, ज्योमेट्रिक प्रोग्रेशन से छीन लेंगे. दू जोड़ दू आप देंगे, दू गुने दू आप छीन लेंगे. आप लोग बातों को समझना नहीं चाहते हैं. समस्या यहाँ है, मामले को समझिए.
सिर्फ 2% प्रीमियम भर के सरकार ने 6 करोड़ किसानों को 50,000 करोड़ का मुनाफा दिलवाया।
आप लाखों करोड़ दे दीजिए, लंगड़ा बना के रखिए, गोदी में लेके किसान को चलिए, अपने पांव पर चलने न दीजिएगा।
आप किसानों को टैक्स भरने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, फिर सड़कों पर आप क्यों उतरे हैं? मोदी सरकार
किसानों की समस्या केवल आर्थिक नहीं है,
भाइयों के साथ
आप आर्थिक बात बतिया रही हैं। किसानों की समस्या है कि
लिखित तौर पर
स्टेट पावर किसान के हाथ में नहीं है।
हम पराली का जो
आप
ऑर्डिनेंस
सवाल को बहका रही हैं, यह दिया, वह दिया, वह दिया।
मंडी को कोई खत्म
औरंगजेब बहुत कुछ देता था हिंदुओं को, समस्या हल हो गई। रावण बहुत कुछ देता था बानर बालू
सरकार ने ये भी
समस्या है
टीएमसी मंडी को खत्म नहीं किया जाएगा। तो आपको दिक्कत किस बात की है? आपने जो मांगे रखी थी सरकार ने लगभग 90%।
I think we are talking on two separate lines. MR, 1 second. MR. Now we have to see whether we can find a solution here. Are we heading towards an untractable situation? Are we heading towards a situation where there is a complete deadlock? See, a deadlock will benefit nobody.
Arnab,
and let me tell you, Royden,
something very simple.
A deadlock also will lead to the law of diminishing returns for you. People are already getting tired with this whole approach of blocking everything. Yes, MR.
Yes,
more people in this country want progress. More people want to move on. You cannot have the country held to ransom with the protests of the unelectables every 2 months. MR and Roach, open debate.
25 crops.
Alternative is not coming.
22
they simply
of them
want to
had
rent a cost
excellent.
and they want to exacerbate the whole problem. They don't seem
MR,
to be there
MR,
to find a
let us
solution
talk,
to the
MR.
farmers.
Let us talk.
And that
Let
is
one
what is
person
worrying
talk.
me, that
Okay.
this is not a farmer's protest.
Let me tell you, out of 25, 22 crops, MSP growth was much higher than what it is now. During the UPA time, let me tell you, out of 25, 22 had a better rate. And for example, let me tell you about
MR and Manoj Bhattacharya.
The wheat,
MR and Manoj Bhattacharya.
Lowest in 10 years.
The lowest price. A solution. This solution will come in only when you talk directly to the farmers and see that they are dealing from these professional protesters, and then only we will have the solution. Unfortunately, the government is still, giving them a long rope, dealing with them in the most civil manner. This cannot be done with this bunch of goons. You have to tell them what they are. They're a bunch of thugs and goons, and you have to deal with them with the iron fist. And that is how you get a solution. You dealing these farmers with these professional thugs, you will automatically have the solution in no time.
Absolutely. Manoj Bhattacharya, China's mouthpiece is commenting on India's internal affairs.
Yes, please.
Does it make you happy?
Mr. Arnab Goswami.
Pakistan is using this to make its usual noises. Does it make you happy? Are you with China and Pakistan?
Then the country
Are you with China and Pakistan on India's internal matters? Pardon me, you're with the Canadian Prime Minister?
That is your usual tactics. That's your usual tactics. You do not know me. That's a usual tactics.
It's not a usual tactic, Mr. Bhattacharya.
Push anybody to urban Naxal.
It's not a usual tactic, Mr. Bhattacharya.
China, to Pakistan, if at all they do not agree with you. Now,
it's
Mr.
true.
Goswami, you tell me, is there...
Yes, of course, you block the trains. You want National Highway 44 closed. You want mayhem. You want mayhem because you cannot be elected. No, how many seats did you win in the Lok Sabha and how many did you contest? Is this not the protest? Are you not representing parties which are unelectables?
I am, please not at all.
I have not put you in a bracket. You don't believe in dialogue.
I am not. You are trying to. You are trying to.
The agenda of
you are trying to.
Society.
It has nothing to do with seats.
It has an agenda of socialism. Seats don't matter. What matters is the
well, I think the only solution is having a negotiated settlement or a discussion here. Viewers, I'll take a break here. On the other side tonight, of course, we've got Yogi Adityanath talking about the subject of the UP, and the Bengal governor is waiting to come live on what's happening in the state in a few minutes.